What happens inside her mind when you suddenly stop talking? Does she forget you? Does she move on? Or does the silence create a space where her thoughts become louder than anything you could have said? Because sometimes, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop sending message after message, something changes. Not because silence is a magic trick, and not because every woman reacts the same way, but because uncertainty has a way of making people pay attention to what they previously took for granted. And here's the part most people misunderstand: going silent is not powerful because it makes someone panic. It becomes powerful when it reveals whether there was genuine interest, emotional investment, curiosity, or simply a habit of receiving your attention. Imagine this. You have been talking to a woman regularly. You message her in the morning. You ask how her day is going. You keep the conversation alive when she gives short answers. You are usually the one initiating. Then one day, you stop. No dramatic goodbye. No angry message. No fine, I'll never talk to you again. You simply return your attention to your own life. At first, she may not think much of it. Maybe she's busy. Maybe she assumes you'll text later. But then the usual message doesn't arrive. A few hours pass. Then a day. And depending on the relationship and her level of interest, something interesting can happen. The pattern has changed. And humans notice changes in patterns. She might wonder, is he upset with me? Did something happen? Is he losing interest? Why is he suddenly different? Or perhaps she doesn't think about it at all. And that last possibility matters just as much. Because healthy silence isn't about forcing a reaction. It's about creating enough space for the truth to reveal itself. If someone is genuinely interested in you, your absence may make them notice your presence more clearly. If someone was only responding because you constantly pushed the interaction forward, your silence may reveal that the connection depended almost entirely on your effort. That distinction can save you an enormous amount of emotional energy. Here's where things get interesting. When you are constantly available, constantly initiating, and constantly trying to keep someone interested, you may accidentally remove the opportunity for them to wonder about you. There is no mystery because you are always there. There is no question about whether you'll text because they already know you will. There is no need for them to invest because you're doing most of the investing. And this isn't about pretending to be unavailable. It's about understanding reciprocity. A healthy connection needs movement from both sides. Think about a conversation between two people. One person asks questions, shares stories, starts conversations, suggests meeting, remembers details, and tries to understand the other person. The other person mostly responds. Eventually, the first person becomes exhausted. And this is where many people make a mistake. They think, maybe I just need to try harder. So they text more. They explain more. They become more entertaining. They become more emotionally available. They try to prove their value. But attraction doesn't become healthier simply because one person increases their effort. Sometimes the most emotionally intelligent thing you can do is stop carrying the entire interaction. Not to punish her. Not to make her jealous. Not to make her desperate. Simply to see whether she chooses to walk toward you when you're no longer doing all the walking. Now pay close attention to what happens next. Silence can create curiosity, but curiosity is not the same thing as attraction. A woman might notice your absence because she is interested in you. She might notice because she is accustomed to your attention. She might notice because she is concerned that she offended you. She might notice because she simply values the friendship. There are many explanations. That's why reading one reaction as proof of romantic interest can lead you into completely wrong conclusions. Suppose you stop messaging someone you've been dating casually, and 2 days later she says, "Hey, haven't heard from you. Everything okay?" That message tells you something. She noticed. But it doesn't automatically tell you why. The emotionally mature response isn't to celebrate and think, "I've activated her psychology." Instead, you look at the larger pattern. Does she ask questions about you? Does she initiate conversations? Does she make time to see you? Does she remember things you've told her? Does she show curiosity about your life? Does she communicate consistently? Does she make an effort when you make an effort? Patterns are far more informative than isolated moments. And there's another detail many people completely overlook. When you go quiet for the right reasons, you're not only giving her space. You're giving yourself information. Think about how often anxiety disguises itself as attraction. You send a message. She doesn't respond. You check your phone. You wonder what she meant. You send another message. Then another. Eventually, you're no longer connecting with her. You're trying to regulate your own uncertainty. That's an important difference. Sometimes what you call fighting for the relationship is actually fighting against the discomfort of not knowing where you stand. And silence can interrupt that cycle. Instead of asking, "What can I do to get her attention?" you begin asking, "Is this connection actually mutual?" That question changes everything. Imagine a man named Daniel. Daniel likes a woman he has been seeing for several weeks. Whenever they talk, he has a great time. But he notices something uncomfortable. Almost every conversation begins because he starts it. When they meet, she seems engaged. But between dates, he carries the communication. So Daniel decides to stop forcing the rhythm. He doesn't disappear. He doesn't ignore her if she reaches out. He simply stops initiating every conversation. 3 days later, she sends him a message. "Hey, how have you been?" Daniel could immediately interpret this as proof that she is deeply attracted to him. But that would be premature. Instead, he responds normally. They have a conversation. She asks about his week. She suggests getting coffee. Now Daniel has more useful information. She isn't just reacting to his attention. She's contributing to the connection. That's the real value of creating space. It allows reciprocity to become visible. But what if she doesn't reach out? That's where self-worth becomes more important than attraction. Because rejection hurts. Silence from someone you like can make you question yourself. You might think, maybe I'm not attractive enough. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I should have tried harder. But someone not reciprocating your interest does not automatically mean something is wrong with you. Compatibility isn't a mathematical score of your value. Two good people can simply want different things. One person can be interested while the other isn't. One person can be emotionally ready while the other isn't. One person can feel chemistry while the other feels friendship. That's life. And mature confidence means you can tolerate that reality without abandoning your dignity. Here's something even deeper. Sometimes silence changes your perception because emotional distance can reveal what constant interaction was hiding. When you're constantly communicating with someone, you can become attached to the routine. Good morning. Good night. Random messages. Memes. Flirting. Checking in. You begin confusing frequency with depth. But when the communication slows down, you may suddenly realize something. Wait. We were talking every day, but we weren't actually building anything. That's a powerful realization. A relationship isn't defined simply by how often two people communicate. It's defined by the quality, consistency, honesty, respect, and mutual effort within that communication. And this is where emotional intelligence separates healthy distance from manipulation. Manipulative silence sounds like, "I'm going to ignore her until she gets desperate." Healthy space sounds like, "I'm not going to force communication that isn't naturally mutual." Those two behaviors may look similar from the outside. Psychologically, they are completely different. One is about control. The other is about boundaries. One is designed to provoke anxiety. The other is designed to protect emotional balance. And if you genuinely care about someone, you don't want their anxiety to be the foundation of their attraction to you. You want their interest to come from who you are, how you treat each other, and what you build together. Now imagine another situation. A woman has been emotionally distant lately. Her responses have become shorter. She rarely initiates. You notice the change, but instead of giving her space, you start asking questions every few hours. Are you okay? Did I do something? Are you losing interest? Why are you acting different? Your intention might be understandable. You're afraid of losing the connection. But repeated pressure can make communication harder. Sometimes people need space because they're processing something unrelated to you. Sometimes they are overwhelmed. Sometimes they are uncertain about their feelings. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're simply losing interest. You cannot control which explanation is true, but you can control how you respond. You can communicate clearly. You can give reasonable space. And you can observe what happens. That's confidence. Confidence isn't believing every woman will chase you when you walk away. Confidence is knowing you don't have to chase someone who has clearly chosen not to meet you halfway. There's a major difference. And here's where the title becomes much more interesting. When you go silent, her mind may become more active, but the goal should never be to make her mind go crazy. The real goal is to stop making your own mind crazy. Stop analyzing every emoji. Stop calculating response times. Stop wondering whether you should wait 2 hours before replying because some dating rule says you should. Stop trying to manufacture scarcity. You are not a product on a shelf. You are a human being building a relationship with another human being. If you have something meaningful to say, say it. If you want to ask her out, ask. If you're interested, show it. If she reciprocates, continue. If she doesn't, accept the information. That kind of directness can actually make you more attractive because it demonstrates emotional stability. You aren't hiding your interest. But you aren't dependent on her response either. That's a powerful combination. Think about the difference between these two men. The first man says, I need her to like me. The second man says, I like her, and I'd love for her to like me too. But I still respect myself if she doesn't. The second man is emotionally freer. And emotional freedom changes the way you communicate. You stop performing. You stop trying to impress. You become more curious. You listen more carefully. You notice whether you're actually compatible. And strangely enough, when you stop trying desperately to be chosen, you become better at choosing. That's something many people miss. Dating isn't only about asking, does she want me? You should also be asking, do I genuinely like the way we interact? Do I feel respected? Do I feel comfortable being myself? Is there mutual effort? Can we communicate when something goes wrong? Do our values make sense together? Those questions protect you from becoming obsessed with someone simply because they are uncertain about you. Because uncertainty can feel like chemistry. Sometimes the strongest emotional pull comes not from connection, but from unpredictability. One day she's warm. The next day she's distant. Then she comes back. You feel relief. Then uncertainty returns. And suddenly you're emotionally invested in winning consistency from someone who isn't actually offering it. That's not the kind of attraction you should build your life around. Healthy attraction doesn't require you to constantly prove your worth. It leaves room for peace. It leaves room for laughter. It leaves room for both people to initiate. It leaves room for mistakes and honest conversations. And yes, it leaves room for silence. Because two people who genuinely respect each other don't need constant digital contact to prove the connection exists. Sometimes you both have lives. Work. Family. Friends. Goals. Responsibilities. Personal interests. A healthy relationship doesn't erase those things. It complements them. So if you suddenly become quieter, ask yourself why. Are you taking time to focus on your own life? Are you giving someone space? Are you stepping back because the communication has become one-sided? Or are you deliberately withholding attention because you want to make her jealous or anxious? Your answer matters. If your silence comes from self-respect, it can be healthy. If your silence comes from revenge, it usually creates another problem. And if you've genuinely hurt someone, disappearing isn't emotional intelligence. Sometimes the mature move is to communicate. I've noticed we've been distant lately. I don't want to pressure you, but I'd like to understand where we stand. That's much harder than playing games. But it's also much healthier. And here's the final psychological shift I want you to remember. You don't need to make someone miss you. You need to create a life that doesn't collapse when someone becomes distant. That's the foundation of real confidence. When you have your own purpose, your own friendships, your own interests, your own standards, and your own direction, another person's attention becomes something you enjoy rather than something you desperately need. Then silence stops being a strategy. It becomes natural. You're not sitting beside your phone thinking, when will she notice I'm gone? You're living. And if she reaches out, you respond because you want to, not because you finally received the validation you've been waiting for. If she doesn't reach out, you have your answer. Maybe not the answer you wanted, but an answer. And sometimes clarity is more valuable than hope built on assumptions. So when you go silent, yes, she may wonder where you went. She may become curious. She may realize she misses your presence. She may reconsider the connection. Or she may simply continue with her life. All of those possibilities are real. The important part is what you do with the silence. Don't use it to punish. Don't use it to manipulate. Don't use it as a test. Use space to regain perspective. Use distance to observe reciprocity. Use quiet moments to reconnect with yourself. And if she comes toward you, don't immediately assume you've won. Look for consistency. Look for effort. Look for respect. Look for genuine curiosity. Look for actions that match words. Because attraction isn't proven by one text saying, "Where have you been?" It's revealed over time through mutual investment. And if she doesn't come toward you, don't turn that into a judgment about your worth. Let it become information. The strongest person in a relationship isn't the person who can make the other person chase. It's the person who can love deeply without abandoning themselves. So the next time you're tempted to send one more message, explain yourself one more time, or chase someone who has stopped meeting you halfway, pause. Ask yourself one simple question. Am I communicating because there is something meaningful to say, or am I communicating because I'm afraid of being forgotten? That question can save you from a lot of unnecessary pain. Sometimes silence doesn't make her mind crazy. Sometimes silence simply makes the truth louder. And when you can hear that truth without panicking, without manipulating, and without losing your self-respect, you finally understand the real power of stepping back. If this message gave you a different perspective on attraction, relationships, or emotional confidence, give the video a like, subscribe for more relationship psychology and practical advice, and share your experience in the comments. Have you ever stepped back from someone and discovered that their effort changed or that their silence gave you the answer you needed?